The video says his favorite drink started dissolving his skull. So let's see what his favorite drink was. Let's check this out.
One morning with a severe headache, pressing your palms to your forehead, you don't understand what's happening. A sharp pain radiates from the back of your skull to your jaw, and you feel like your teeth are getting loose. With one cough, two fall right out. You're shocked and try to make your way to the toilet, but start to feel dizzy. After barely managing to get to the sink, you see blood dripping from your face on your hands. You look up in the mirror, and your jaw slowly falls off as the skin around your face...
What the fuck? Oh, hell, he must have drank some acid or like something acidic. What's up, Libero? What's up?
...starts to dissolve.
What the
Horrified,
fuck
you
is
faint
this?
and crash on the floor with a loud thud.
Ah! Bro, help!
Whoa, Grill, calm down. What is it?
My teeth fell out. There was blood everywhere, and then my face was melting, and then my jaw fell off.
Your jaw looks pretty attached to me.
No, in my dream, you dicks.
Okay. And?
And this is where you tell me that has never happened before in real life, and I have nothing to be scared of.
Okay, and what do I do if it has?
Excuse me, what? How?
Too many sketchy energy drinks.
What?
Energy drinks? Yeah, right. Oh, he says sketchy energy drinks. Okay, I'm about to say it because I drink them shits every day.
In November 1927, Ebenezer McBurney Byers, or Eben Byers for short, was returning home from watching the most awaited championship of the year, the game.
What game?
Each year since 1875, Ivy League universities like Harvard and Yale compete against one another in a competitive football tournament that they affectionately refer to as the game.
How humble of them.
Okay.
Yes, well, in 1927, Yale's football team, the Bulldogs, came out victorious, much to the delight of former Yale student Eben Byers, who was once a star Bulldog player himself. Not in football, mind you, but in golf. The sport he was passionate about since his teenage years and continued to master even after graduation. During his peak athletic era, he took home, at the age of only 26, the 1906 U.S. Amateur Golf Championship trophy. Like most of the top amateur golf players in those days, Eben came from a wealthy family. Aside from golf, his main hobby as a millionaire socialite was attending lavish parties, with the Wall Street Journal describing him as an ardent ladies' man. He was the son of the famous industrialist Alexander Byers, a well-respected and influential businessman who gave employment to over 2,500 workers in his wrought iron mill, Girard Iron Company, a company that Eben would end up inheriting and acting as chairman of the board for later on. Not only that, but he was the owner of a bank and ran several other companies under his name. Plus, the fact that he could afford to take his own private train from the game in Cambridge, Massachusetts to his home in New York shows that the man was filthy rich.
Yeah,
Needless to say, at the age of 47 years old, life had, up until this point, been pretty good to Eben Byers.
There's a butt coming, isn't there?
But that was all about to change.
Called it.
As he was returning, tired from the thrilling tournament and long journey, he was sleeping soundly on the top bunk bed of the train's sleeping berth.
There's probably some like old school teacher like this vitalizes you and gives you extra strength. Come here, come on, come get the maximum strength tincture. You know, it's probably some dumb shit like that. It's filled with mercury and arsenic and shit like that. Cocaine and methamphetamine.
The train suddenly took a sharp turn, causing Eben to roll off the bed and crash down hard onto the train floor. When he woke up, he couldn't move his left arm, and excruciating pain was radiating from his shoulder joint to his palm. What was supposed to be a much-needed rest turned into an agonizing accident that would haunt Eben for the rest of his life. Eben was rushed by the paramedics to receive first aid. Doctors determined that his left arm was broken, so they wrapped him up in a bandage and gave him painkillers, hoping for a speedy recovery, which, sadly, never happened. Even after weeks, there was no relief from the severe pain in his left shoulder and arm. Daily activities had become a struggle. Not only did he worry about ever enjoying his hobbies.
Imagine being born rich and then dying because you drank the wrong shit. Oh my God, how unfortunate.
Again, he even began to wonder if he would ever enjoy life again. It even reached a point where Ebenezer could neither sit nor lie down peacefully. He was desperate and needed a permanent solution to release him from his misery. And one came to him on a sunny morning while he was reading the newspaper. There was an article about a doctor named Dr. Charles Clinton Moyer offering a miracle treatment guaranteed to cure any illness, be it skin issues.
See, this is what the fuck I'm talking about right here. Is that shit. Cures all illnesses. Does it even tell the ingredients on here? Probably not. Micrograms radium element. Oh my god, this dude's drinking radiation probably. What the fuck? Radium 500. What the fuck does that even mean?
Issues, infertility, or
fuck?
even chronic pain. Eben had heard about Dr. Moyer and his effective treatments before,
Yeah,
so that
pretty
article
much. This dude's taking fallout medicine, bro.
immediately caught his attention. This magical elixir was a glimmer of hope, something that could finally return the life that had been stolen from him without constantly being in pain. So the first thing he did was get an appointment and visit the doctor. After the doctor examined him, he prescribed him a small bottle of medicine with the name Radithor.
Sounds like something out of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Radithor! Like if the god of thunder fell into a vat of glowing green
Sounds like some shit out of Fallout fucking 4. That's what that sounds like.
waste, giving him the power of nuclear lightning.
Well, I don't know about all that, but one could say it was radioactive lightning in a bottle. Speaking of which, I could go for some lightning in a bottle. Or a cup.
Bro.
Segue to his ass.
Deaths, strange events, oddities, day in,
knows?
day out. It wears down on your sanity.
Aren't we supposed to?
It affects my sleep and my focus. Sometimes I need coffee with just a little bit more to it. That's when I have a cup of mushroom-enhanced coffee,
Yeah, see,
like
I
this
knew
one
it.
from
Segue
VitaCup,
to his
this
ad.
video's sponsor.
A coffee machine that drinks
So
coffee.
good. I'm too
That
good.
makes no sense.
VitaCup Focus Mushroom Coffee is all natural with only the best Arabica beans imbued
So
with
no
lion's
caffeine?
mane, which
Oh, it has
improves
coffee
focus
in it.
and
Oh, it
even
has
reduces
mushrooms
stress
and
over
coffee in
time. Chaga mushrooms with
guys.
antioxidants that improve cognitive performance, and vitamins like B12 and D3, which help with
Yeah,
memory.
he makes pretty good videos. He has like millions of followers on YouTube, like, or subscribers on YouTube. This guy, he's been doing this for a while.
Attention.
The only thing for me is like, I would be down to like do a whole ass video, but I don't know what I want to make it on. You know what I'm saying? And it'll take me like probably a couple months to make. You know what I mean? Doing the research and then fucking editing it, because I've never really like I do little edits on my own, like little clips and shit like that. But I'm not doing like full video edits. I don't know how to animate either. I'm not doing any of that. You know, but like still, it'd be cool to make a video, like a some sort of video like that. I'm thinking about it though. I'm trying to think of a good idea.
And immune support. Only vegan, high-quality ingredients. It's like an energy drink, minus all those nasty things in it.
How dare you! Yeet has very high quality ingredients.
That should be a sick name for an energy drink, to be honest.
Acrylanitrile, tetrachloroethylene, cyanide. That's for flavoring, right? But whatever. Who would ever want to taste mushrooms in the coffee anyways?
Yeah, no.
Don't
mushrooms,
worry,
yeah.
you don't really taste the mushrooms. Ah, that is delicious.
Flavor analysis. Smooth, full-bodied, sweet and earthy undertones detected. Conclusion. Delicious.
VitaCup Mushroom Focus Coffee comes in pods, instant coffee pouches, and coffee grounds. If you want to try some for yourself and help out the channel, click the link in the description box below. It's also currently on sale, so now is the time to get some. And don't worry, this wonderful elixir
right.
isn't
Side
making
effects or
crazy
cancer?
claims like Radithor. Eben took the regular dosage
Alright.
as prescribed by the doctor, and within a few days,
see.
he felt amazing. The pain in his arm was gone, and his strength was coming back. He was
What?
thrilled and thought to himself, if one dose can cure my pain and revive my strength, what would happen
It
if
probably did work for a little bit. I don't even know. It makes no sense. Like, you would think he would just start glowing green and start, like, puking out his fucking brains and his shitting out his asshole.
double that? And from that thought started an unhealthy obsession. Eben started taking 2 doses instead of 1 and felt 10
fatal
years
mistake.
younger. He could play golf again and was having the time of his life. But that obsession quickly turned into greed.
Yeah, mixed with, like, radioactive material.
And before you know it, Mr. Byers was drinking an entire bottle of Radithor every day. He was completely blind.
I'm so glad modern medicine's gotten better since these days. Holy shit. It's still not amazing, but it's better.
To the possible risks of overdose.
Typical humans. When will you ever learn that you can have too much of a good thing?
It all started with a mild headache, followed by toothaches, and soon after that, his entire body was in
Sounds like
pain.
radiation
Eben became
poisoning.
increasingly concerned, but instead of trying to understand the cause of it, he started drinking more Radithor. Poor
course.
guy couldn't understand that the medicine
course
he
that's what it
thought was
does.
the cure was the very poison pushing him to his decline. Some interesting context about those times is that people closing in on 50,
Probably.
like Eben here, were easily swayed by carnival barkers and
Yeah,
quacks
see,
promising
carnival
strength and
barkers.
youth, no matter how questionable the products might be.
I mean,
Yeah,
to
people
be
were
fair,
fucking selling shit making money off of just like nothing, bro. They would just find some random chemicals, mix them together, and say, "Drink this turpentine. It's good for you."
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think there's a reality where I meet a duck on the street selling magic strength potions and I don't give him all my money.
No, Grill. A quack is somebody who falsely claims to be skilled or knowledgeable in a particular field, commonly medicine, even if they actually don't know anything about it. There are quite a few examples of quack medicine sold to people as the ultimate cure-it-all at the time. Like laudanum, which was just opium dissolved in ethanol and was widely used.
Opium dissolved in ethanol, so it was like basically opium liquor. That shit probably fucked you up, bro.
And abused for various ailments, despite
Yeah.
its extremely addictive
It just gets you fucking high. That's it.
properties. Many remedies that were labeled as miracle tonics or elixirs actually contained highly toxic
cadmium,
substances such as
arsenic,
mercury,
lead,
arsenic,
mercury,
or lead.
sulfur.
The man
Yeah,
who
that sounds about right.
manufactured and sold Radithor was William J.A. Bailey, a former student of Eben's rival school, Harvard University, who dropped out and was now falsely claiming to be a skilled doctor in medicine.
Quack!
Exactly. And he was making a fortune from selling Radithor. He claimed that drinking Radithor
Yeah.
boosts the endocrine system, which is a collection of organs and glands responsible for controlling growth, metabolism, and reproduction. According to William Bailey, having such a system boost with the help of Radithor was a sure way to increase healing and cure all illnesses, including chronic pain. He, however, forgot to mention the side effects that came with it.
Yeah,
Now,
radiation
you might be
sickness.
wondering what exactly Radithor was made of that was causing people everywhere to buy it left and right.
You bet I am. The heck is in this
Pretty
stuff?
much.
It was
This is
just
what
two
people do
simple
now.
ingredients. High concentrations of radium mixed with water.
Radium, yeah.
Yes, Bean, that radium.
That's it.
For those who are unaware, radium is a silvery white radioactive metal that has had a wide variety of uses throughout the years, from treating cancer to giving glow-in-the-dark paint because of its self-luminous qualities. It was quite popular in the 20th century. Products like Undark, produced by the United States
That's actually hilarious. Glow in the dark paint. He might
Radium
have glowed.
Corporation as a luminous paint for clock dials, watch faces, and instrument panels, and Thoradia, a line of beauty products including
Oh
face
yeah,
creams
I
and
actually
powders.
heard about that. Actually, they put that shit in makeup and on watches and shit. The people who are manufacturing stuff all got cancer and shit like that. I
Were in
remember
great
hearing about that.
demand. Thankfully, we no longer put radium on our faces as its harmful effects like skin burns, cancer, and other radiation-induced diseases became known. Radithor was made by infusing distilled water with two isotopes of radium, radium-226 and 228, and fusing them with distilled water. And there is one more property consistent among all isotopes of radium that made it so desirable. It is the most radioactive element in the known universe. So radioactive, in fact, that it makes the air around it glow a pale blue. And it's pretty safe to say that anything that glows isn't good for you, especially if it's radioactive. Radium is known to emit alpha, beta, and gamma radiations that do not pose a great danger under mild exposure as the skin barrier protects us against its penetrating ability, but with excess ingestion, radium starts accumulating in the bones. But no one really cared
And
to
he already
question
had
the
like bone problems, so like that just exasperated it probably and fucked him up.
negative effects of Radithor.
I mean, his jaw did fall off his face, so that makes sense.
It was the early
Dude turned into a whole ass ghoul.
20th century, after all, and people were thrilled to discover the healing properties of radiation after the discovery of X-rays in 1895. To them, it was a cure for everything. It was claimed to prevent mental health issues, treat chronic diarrhea, promote
Okay.
fertility, treat cancers,
Wow,
and relieve
promote
agonizing
fertility.
pain. They would take pride in rubbing radioactive infused materials on their skins
hilarious.
and even taking them as
So they can
supplements in their
radiate.
diet. But you can't blame them. In that era, the common man had little to no clue about the dangers of radiation exposure. With this benefit of the doubt, Bailey sold over 400,000 bottles
Holy
of Radithor
fuck.
from 1925 to 1930. And tell me, Grill,
Made
does
hella money,
radiation turn you
probably.
into a cool, big green mutant?
No.
What does it do?
It tears apart your DNA, causing cellular damage and
Godzilla!
eventually leads to cancer and a
Bro
slow
turns into
agonizing death.
Godzilla. Yeah.
Exactly. In 1930, after 3 years of consistently taking an
Godzilla!
extremely high dosage of Radithor, Eben finally began to realize the damage he had done to himself, but it was too late. His teeth were practically rotten, most lost. His skin
Damn.
had dissolved in several areas of his body, especially around his jaw, and his health had deteriorated to the point where it took a brutal amount of effort for him to stand. By that time, Eben had consumed over
Shit.
1,400 bottles of Radithor. He stopped drinking
1,400 bottles? Get the fuck out of here, man. No wonder why his jaw fucking fell off. This dude was addicted.
it,
Holy
but the damage
fuck.
was done. Eben's
Yeah, it's
body
too
was
late,
past
bro.
the point of no return and unable to heal,
Game
with his
over.
condition only getting worse. All of his organs were slowly failing due to cell death. He was truly
International
rotting from the
copyright.
inside out.
Jeez, buddy. How did you even get to that point?
Do you know there are lethal doses of any medicine? Well, Eben took 3 times that for Radithor.
Why didn't the doctor stop him from overdosing?
Money and greed can be a vile thing, and unfortunately, at the time, bribery was considered a regular part of people's jobs. Even doctors would have their commissions set with pharmaceutical companies so they would prescribe their products to patients. For Radithor, doctors were promised a 1/6 commission of the profits on each bottle sold. This also explains why it got famous in the first place. There was no proper accountability or checks and balances in place to catch false marketing claims and ensure the safety of a product so widely
They fucking played these motherfuckers back then. They had no clue what the fuck they were fucking ingesting.
marketed until there were a few casualties from it. But one good thing happened out of the misery Eben Byers was going through. Since he was a notable personality, word of his condition started getting around. His agony was going to be the stepping stone that would put an end to the use of radioactive elements in medicinal tonics and prevent several future casualties from happening. In 1931, the government also took notice of Eben's condition, and the Federal Trade Commission asked him to present a statement about his symptoms and what caused them. But he was too sick to even get out of bed at the time. In response, they sent a lawyer to take Eben's testimony at his home, but when the lawyer reached there, he was shocked at the sight before him. The person who was once the pride of the Byers family and led the famous Gerard Iron Company, someone who was always conscious about his health and had made a miraculous recovery after that train accident back in 1927.
Yeah, he used a lot. I mean, I feel like if he would have used maybe like a few bottles, like maybe a bottle like a month or something like that, you know, maybe not like fucking one a day, he'd be all right.
Was now lying in a
He probably
bed
did like a few a day, to be honest.
with half of his face gone.
What? What do you mean half
He
of...
probably still would have got kind of sick, maybe, but like he probably would have been alive, or he would have lived. Not alive. He obviously would have been dead by now, but he would have like lived longer.
his face was
Sure.
gone?
His body's decay had reached a point where his teeth would fall out with a single cough. His skin was peeling off, and his entire body was
sounds about
covered
right.
in blood patches. The tissue around his mouth was so rotten that his jaw literally fell off like a wilting leaf from a tree. The
Holy
lawyer took
fuck.
Eben's statement and reported back to the Federal Trade Commission
How did he take a statement with no bottom jaw? The
about
fuck?
his condition.
Oh, he might have
explained
wrote
how
it
his
down.
whole upper jaw, excepting 2 front teeth and most of his lower jaw, had been removed, and that
Oh,
all the remaining bone tissue of his body was disintegrating, and holes were actually forming in his skull. There was
Oh
even
my
a term
God.
for it called radium jaw, or radium necrosis, since
Ooh.
Eben wasn't even the first person who would experience something
fuck.
like this. In the early
I'm so glad for the FDA.
1900s, radium was also used to paint watch dials because of its glowing-in-the-dark properties. And the women who worked in these industries, like the United States Radium
Yeah.
Corporation, were called the Radium Girls.
Yeah, Radium Girls.
Every
Yeah,
day
that's why I think I seen this on like something on TV, like History Channel or some shit like that on TV. But yeah,
the Radium Girls sat at their workstations, carefully painting tiny numbers on watch dials. To make sure the brush stayed sharp, they were taught to put the brush between their lips
yeah, they fucking put it in their lips to fucking make it sharp. Yeah, I've seen this shit. That's crazy.
to make a fine point before dipping it back into the radium paint.
So
This
fucked
practice
up.
was called lip, dip, paint. The managers told them it was safe, and the girls, trusting their employers, did as
course
they
they
were
did.
instructed. As time went on, the Radium Girls began to suffer from mysterious and painful illnesses.
So fucked up. Like, look, she was a decent looking female at one point. You know, she was all right looking. You know, for that era.
Their teeth started to fall out,
Nice
their
little
jaws
young white
swelled,
lady.
and they developed severe pain in their
And now
bones.
she looks like that. What the fuck?
Some of the women even had their jawbones crumble and had to have parts of their faces removed surgically. Even one of the 2 people
fall- they
credited
turned
with the
into ghouls,
discovery of
bro.
radium
Legit.
had fallen victim to its
Legit
terrible
ghouls.
effects. In 1934, Marie Curie, a 2-time Nobel Prize winner for her
Marie Curie. Mercury. That sounds
work
funny.
on radioactivity, died of aplastic anemia, a fatal condition where the body is unable to produce red blood cells,
Marie
white
Curie.
blood cells,
Funny.
and platelets. During her research, she would carry radioactive test tube samples in her pocket and put them in her drawers. The chronic radiation exposure is believed to be the cause
Of course. Like, what'd she expect? They must have not had no clue about radiation.
of her anemic condition.
I mean, hey, you know, these are people. These are the founding fathers of radiation right here. All right. If without their fuck ups, we wouldn't know today. All right.
If only the dangers of radiation were known at the time, life for so many people wouldn't have been cut so short.
Yeah.
Eben's body was affected by multiple cancers that were slowly eating away at him from the inside. and it all
Yeah, he
happened
fucked
within the
up.
span of a few years of consuming Radithor. At that time, after taking into account Eben's condition, the Federal Trade Commission ceased William Bailey's
Yeah,
business
Deadpool.
operations and stopped the
For
mass
sure.
production and distribution of Radithor. It was finally labeled unsafe for consumption.
What happened to the quack after that?
Well, I believe all of us would want some strict action against
He
people
probably
like
didn't
William
have to
Bailey
file
and the
a
doctors
Nobody probably
involved.
filed a lawsuit.
Still,
Maybe they did.
nothing of the sort was done.
Yeah.
And worse yet, having the selling of Radithor ceased by the government didn't really stop him from further extending his business. He moved to New York and founded Radium Institute, where he marketed several radioactive products such as radioactive belt clips, paperweights, and even tools that could make water radioactive.
Man, Buddy
guy's
is obsessed
fucking
with radium.
insane.
He doesn't even care that people are
I'm
dying.
surprised he didn't die of radiation sickness. What the fuck?
Unbelievable.
You got that right, Grill. But thankfully,
He must be using Radaway. That's what it is.
Eben's condition had received enough public recognition that people were finally becoming aware of the harmful risks of radioactive cures, and no significant cases were reported after that. In 1932, Eben Byers finally lost the fight against cancer after suffering from excruciating pain for years. Who would have thought that his attempt to deflect the mild pain in his shoulder would put him under the most torturous experience one could imagine? He was buried in Byers Creek, which is the official resting place for the members of the Byers family in Allegheny Cemetery in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a lead-lined coffin. Well,
of course, a
Bean,
lead-lined
that's because lead is a high-density insulator and can effectively
Was he like actually radioactive? So they had to put him in that? That's actually fucking crazy.
reduce the intensity of ionizing radiations emitted by
Yeah.
radioactive materials like radium.
So other people didn't get fucking sick by just visiting his fucking grave.
So by lining Eben's coffin with lead, the risk of radiation from all the radium that was still in his body leaking into the surrounding area was eliminated.
That's
But
good.
this wasn't the
that's
end of the
smart.
story. In 1965, MIT physicist Rob Lee Evans read about Eben Byers' case and was curious if Eben's body was still radioactive after all these years of being buried. So
Can we
his
get to
team
dug him up?
decided to dig out the dead millionaire's
my
corpse and
God,
measure its
dude.
radioactivity. Sure enough, even after being buried for over 33 years, Eben's remains were still radioactive.
Yeah, I
In
bet.
fact, radium-226 and 228 have 1600 and 6.7 years of half-life, respectively. So
Jesus.
that means that it could take up to 1600 years for the
Holy
radioactivity
fuck.
of the radium in Eben's remains only to be reduced by half. Eben's case was the
Insane.
tragic outcome of a lot of things that went wrong.
Yeah,
Back in the
he's still
early 20th
radioactive to this
century,
day.
there was no regulatory system for medical practices. Therefore, it was a freeway for unqualified and self-proclaimed experts to practice medicine. Since
Psychopaths. That's it. Psychopaths. They did that, you know. People who wanted to chop people up. They were actually, you know, esteemed people in society who was looked up to as well-respected men who practiced medical procedures on other people, like amputating arms and limbs for no fucking reason. That was also a thing. I want to see a movie about that shit, actually. That'd be actually sick.
Since then, the
A
world
movie on that era of amputees and doctors be insane.
has changed a lot. There have been several
Or amputation, or whatever, doctors who amputated people. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, motherfuckers, that shit would be crazy.
laws passed to ensure proper drug development and patient safety. The Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938 mandated FDA verification for new foods, cosmetics, and drugs, while HIPAA in 19...
They used to just like tie people down to beds or tables, bro, and have people hold them down, and then start sawing off their legs, like if it was an infection, bro. They didn't even know about antiseptics or nothing. Like those motherfuckers were crazy, motherfuckers, and then they would die from infection anyways because their wound was open and they didn't have antiseptics anyways. Like, they
1996
fucking-
enhanced
they
the
fucking
healthcare
killed a lot of
system's
people.
efficiency and security. The Patient Safety and Quality Improvement Act of 2005 empowered consumers to report medical errors, driving improvements in patient safety. If we look back, then Eben Byers surely had a wonderful life ahead if he had not been swayed by a corrupt doctor and given into his blind greed for a feeling of extraordinary well-being. No matter how energetic Radithor made him feel, if only he had looked into the possible side effects that the ingredients could have on his body,
He probably didn't give a fuck, or they probably weren't fucking documented right on the bottle.
there may have been a
Probably
different
lied
end to
to.
the story. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the subscribe button. Just your
That's crazy. Huh.
one sub helps out our channel a ton. And while you're here,
Yeah,
check
but
out this video about how a man lost 275 pounds letting his body slowly eat itself away.
Yeah, fuck, that guy's crazy.